lots of food left, you're gonna have to take food home with you. That's the first announcement. What? It's working.
Talk more into it.
Yeah, it's working.
That's better.
Lots of food. Yes, take lots of food. So, before we get started, one of the members wanted to know what happened at City Council a couple of Thursdays ago. The first one was the ADA access, which passed, even though all the homeless advocates were there badgering people and actually verbally attacking Tiana Tozer, who was the prime petitioner in that lawsuit. I got a little short clip of this woman. She started out yelling, F Ted Wheeler, F Ted Wheeler. Then she moved on. She got up out of the chair, ran to the middle of the city council room, and started screaming, arrest me, and flinging her arms around, and she threw herself on the floor. It was very dramatic. You people need to get down to city council. It's very entertaining. So that one actually passed, and then I think today was the day they passed the one to ban the camping. My only concern with that one is, where are they going to go? They're going to offer them services, shelters, and that kind of stuff, but I can't see the Portland having enough. I don't know. What do you think, John? Nope. Yeah, not touching that one. So anyway, so that was the update. Is there any more you wanted to know, Ed, about the...
Thank you, I didn't, but the camping ban, that's only during the day, right?
That's, yes, I know. Plus they have to have somewhere to go.
Right.
I mean, in order to get them off the street, they have to refer them to either a shelter or services.
They have to be willing.
Yes,
That's
yeah. Yeah.
Is that only downtown? Or
No, it's supposed to be citywide. It's supposed to be citywide, but like I said, I can't see how they're going to do it because you've got over 6,000 homeless the last count I saw. And suppose.
Sure, to enforce that, we need to call the police, and the police will hopefully come.
Yeah, because they're the ones going to enforce it.
Yeah, the police will enforce it, so hopefully the police will come and move the tent.
Yeah, that's the idea. But then they said the police really didn't have enough manpower to even enforce. So anyway.
And there's a hand raised over there, Char.
Yeah.
So do we still call 311 or?
Yeah, you can call 311 because you get a response to 311 because they're only there, what, till 5 p.m. or something?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, but as far as like the new ban, like, is there a different, like,
A different number? No. No, non-emergency 311.
Okay.
And I think the last I heard it was going to be implemented July 7th. And that's an estimate date. That was the last date I heard that they're going to start implementing it. Is that it? Okay.
So is that the instruction to call 911, not the police non-emergency number to remove a tent?
311. 311. Yeah, don't bother 911. 211 is for services. That's to get a hold of your social workers that have the list of hopefully what shelters are available.
But it's not going to be implemented till the first week of July.
Oh, and 811 is when you need your meter mark, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, what we did.
I didn't know that number. Well, we've got numbers on the back of our business cards. If you want, grab a business card on the way out or whenever, and there are numbers on that to help you navigate the system. I'm sure one point of contact is like the top number. If you have to, start there.
You lost control at 7:02 p.m.
Oh no. Okay, well, I better introduce our speakers here. We've got John Wheeler and Christopher Nero, who are our parking enforcement people. And John's been awesome, I must say. He's helped me so many times. So here you go.
Can I do this without a mic and everybody hear me?
No.
Is that okay? Well, I'm sorry if I used to speak with a microphone. I'm not going to carry over because I don't want to torture anybody. As you said, my name is John Wheeler. I'm the supervisor in charge of the abandoned vehicles and all the lived-in vehicles. Chris Nero here is my lead officer. Give you a little bit of history real quick. First off, I've been with parking enforcement for going on 28 years now. Been a supervisor for about the last, about 7 years, I think. I can't keep track. And I've been working in this position for about 3 years. I have a staff for the abandoned vehicles of 5 officers, and for the lived-in vehicles, I have 7 officers, 1 lead, and myself. We handle all the vehicles in the city, and that's the whole city limits. And right now, our caseload, we've already had 18,000 vehicles this year. So I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions about why things aren't cleaner and why aren't a lot of the vehicles gone. It's just we are overwhelmed by the numbers, and we do the best we can. I will say for parking enforcement as a whole, and I've been doing this long enough, I can answer any other regular parking enforcement questions, abandoned auto, PIT, whatever you have questions about. I could probably handle it pretty decently. If not, I'm going to bail and let him deal with it. I don't know what kind of information you guys are really looking for, so.
Well, of the 18,000 vehicles, how many are double tagged? I mean, you keep a database?
There's a lot of multiple cases, and that takes up a lot of our time. We have to figure out what the duplicates are, or triplicates, or 10 times reported, and put them all in one case and everything. It takes a lot of time to do that. I know that we towed, it's 150? How many did we tow trucks? Or, last year? Yeah, last year. I think it's 250. I think we towed approximately 250 RVs last year. And for us, that is a significant number. Let me go over a couple things real quick. Right now, the priority in parking enforcement, first and foremost, is service request, which is a citizen calling in and saying, hey, I got a blocked driveway, I have somebody blocking free passage on the sidewalk, fire hydrant. A normal type complaint. That's our first priority. The second priority right now is what we call Street Safety Coordination Center, or what you heard me refer to as SSCC, which is the mayor's new mandate that he came out with in March of last year, which has given us a lot more bite, finally. Not a whole lot, but. And that's dealing with the lived-in vehicles, the big camps, things like that we have going on. I'm sure most of y'all know Southeast Nap. 92nd between Crystal Springs and Flavel. I mean, those are just 2. Let's parking pop up there. The turnouts, the cutouts on 94. Those are the ones that hit that level quite often. That is our second priority. Third priority is the abandoned vehicles. Actually, let me rephrase that. Second priority is the SSCC. Third is safe route to schools right now. So that's any route that the city has a map that shows all the safe routes to schools for the kids that are going to school and everything else. Anybody's camped along those, we get notified. That's our second priority for the VIT group, which is Vehicle Inspection Team. They're the ones that deal with all the lived-in vehicles. For the whole division, the third priority is abandoned vehicles. And believe it or not, the fourth priority and least priority is regular enforcement on the meters and time zones. So downtown, sometimes we don't have many people out there at all walking. We might have 2 or 3 officers walking for the whole downtown metered area. So when people say we're out to get money, not true. Right now, the VIT program that we're working on, as it was started off as a pilot project, it's never actually been fully funded. We definitely need more officers working there. I know one question that I've already been asked here tonight is, what can we do? Honestly, the best thing you can do is find time, if you can, to get to City Hall when they have their council meetings. Take your 5 minutes. They got to listen to you. You can say whatever you want, give them an earful, tell them what we need. For us personally, I say we need more places to put the vehicles. I do not know how this proposal that just got passed is going to affect the vehicle situation. I do not have any answers for you on that, so if you ask me, I'm just going to tell you honestly, I do not know at this time. I know my boss, Mike Krebs, he was going to speak tonight, and then when he realized Chris and I were coming, he said, I don't even know them. He's going to find out that information for me, he'll get it to me, and then hopefully I'll have, when you guys start calling me, I'll have more information for that. Right now we do have one location where they're actually doing a safe rest village for vehicles. And I've heard, of course I've heard this for a long time, that's supposed to be opening up in July, possibly.
Where's that gonna be?
That's going to be in Northeast Portland off of Sunderland Road. And I'm so optimistic I'm beginning to take a couple names and putting them on a list. So we are going to be one of the main contributors for references to go into that facility. Unfortunately, there's only about 55 spots there, which is a drop in the bucket with all the lived-in vehicles we're dealing with right now. And it would not be cars, that'll be either motorhomes or trailers. So living in a car would not qualify for that.
People that want to go?
It will be people that want to go, and this is a transitional. One thing I will say is every time we go out and talk to anybody living in a vehicle, one of the first things we ask them is, are you interested in services? The services that we have, when it's available, is basically a transitional type. They're trying to get into housing. They'll do an intake interview and ask them, what are your needs? Do you have any special needs? Do you have some medical issues? Do you need a job? Do you need housing? What can we do to help you succeed and move on and get into housing and stay there? So these are all things that we do. We get a list every morning of the available shelters that are there. They go very fast. We're not the only ones that have access to that list. And usually the list is very small. That's one of the things you could ask for is shelter services. We need more of them. So for us personally, I think it's a place to put the vehicles and shelter services. Because when I go out there, if it's the worst of the worst, I can tell them, hey, are you interested in services? If they say yes, I have no place to put them, I cannot take their vehicle. If they decline it, and they say, nope, not interested, okay, see you, get out of the way, I'm taking your vehicle. I do it a little nicer than that, by the way. Yes, ma'am.
Because I manage the Money Saver on 92nd and Mousecout Road. There is a trailer right there that, hello, it hasn't been there very long, but I almost got killed getting here tonight. And there's garbage all over the sidewalk. I've got strangers coming in demanding I do something because after walking the street, I'm like, what do you want me to do?
If you've driven down that cul-de-sac too,
Yeah, well, yeah,
it is
now
very,
that
very
scary.
scary.
Back there.
Very
Yeah, they're using my property as their outhouse. That's so good.
What was the question exactly on that one?
That's all.
Okay, for those of you who didn't hear, she's asking about Mount Scott and who do we call on different situations. If it's a vehicle, you can call us. What I will tell you though is the criminal activity around the vehicle we cannot deal with.
I don't care what they do, but I want to be able to see to get out of my driveway.
No, I understand. If it's a visibility issue, blocking issue, I would go to First and Parking Enforcement, call them. They usually refer to us, and then you can call either Chris or I, and we'll try to come out and see what we can do about it. We do usually have some decent results out there.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just putting pressure on them in different ways.
I'm going to have to politely and ask them just to back up so we can see, and I was told, well, you don't want anybody to go.
So John, that's 311 or point of contact, right?
Well, 311 is your general. If you want to talk, we actually have, I'm going to have business cards, and I'll put them on the back table here in a second. It has a bunch of different numbers. If you're reporting just a regular, this isn't a hazard or anything like that, you're talking about a hazard. If you're reporting a regular abandoned vehicle or a lived-in vehicle, and just a regular report because they're just driving you nuts, it's portland.gov/abandoned. And that will go there, and then there's also another number that I can give out here in a little bit if you guys are interested. It isn't written on the card. And that will give you, that one is that's answered Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. We actually have somebody there. They have our abandoned auto program. They can look it up and see if we've already been out to deal with it, what the status is on it. They also have my calendar. And the calendar is a list of all the sites we're getting ready to hit, meaning we're going to tag them, and then a week later we come back and tow them. And he has a list of all that. I know a few of y'all have called us. You're going, what about, for example, NAP? I was like, oh, well, we're tagging it tomorrow, which you guys really love to hear, by the way. Unfortunately, I don't get to do that quite often enough. But, so...
I can help you with that. There's the fifth wheel there right now.
I know, but it's only one. That's a good thing. For those that are interested, that's 503-823-6814 is the number that they answer on a regular basis. And I can repeat that later when y'all are ready for that. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I get a lot of RVs being towed under the Crystal Springs I-205 overpass on 92nd, and they're coming from Clackamas County. They are towing them and they are parking them, and there is another one tonight. They've just pulled it in there, and I want to know who is doing that and what you guys can do to keep them from pulling that down into our area, to dump it in our area, so you have to take care of it.
I cannot do anything. However,
I mean, are you aware of this?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Have you noticed when you said that, somebody's head dropped almost onto the table?
It's really unfair.
I don't like people putting their problems on us.
Right.
I don't tell anybody go to Clackamas County, go to Vancouver or anything else. We try and deal with it ourselves. However, a gentleman named Tim Moore is a tow coordinator. If you guys can get pictures, if you just have to be driving by and take a picture of the tow truck, license plate would be phenomenal, a name or something, drop that vehicle off. He can go after them.
They drop them late or early in the morning. And
I understand, it's a very tough one, but that's the only way we're going to be able to do anything, is if we can have proof that somebody's dropping something off, some kind of visual.
One of my neighbors is a professional trucker. He parks his truck down there, and he actually saw them pull that in. And he didn't get the license, unfortunately, but he did notice it was criminal.
So I know who you're talking about. I don't know if he was the one that sent me the pictures, but I got pictures of the tow truck that dropped those three off about 2 weeks ago.
Yes. And they're gone now, but now
Yeah,
they put another one.
I told him immediately because I noticed something about them that they did come from Clackamas. And Tim Moore asked for proof. The next day I got the pictures, I sent him to Tim. He is investigating that. Unfortunately, it hasn't been registered since it left Arizona.
Okay.
I told him I think I know where they live because one day I happened to be behind that truck and I watched him pick up his kids at the elementary school and I followed him.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's not my job to do that, but I was like, we're paying, we just paid, I don't know how much, I don't want to know, but I know it costs a lot of money for us to tow these RVs, and we just towed 3 of them. And I know they came from Clackamas.
And the reason that I'm concerned about it is it once they're in there, then all the other RVs start coming in, and the criminal element is unbelievable when it
I think
happens.
they went from 92nd to Foster.
Well, they're down on that Mount Scott Boulevard
Yeah.
still, and the Flavel,
They're on
it's
my
bad.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
The one thing I will say is, when it comes to dealing with the lived-in vehicles, I know it might not be the most politically correct thing to say, but it's the world's biggest game of whack-a-mole. Because you're saying, they moved from 92nd over to Foster, then they'll move down to Powell, then they'll move over to Lentz, and then they'll move back over, the gravel pit, which is right off of Foster, go up to Fran's Bakery. So it's a constant war. I know more of the people than I really would like to by name, because I've just dealt with them so much. And they know me by name. They know where we're coming. So.
Well, the ones that you just ran off to by Checkers Mark they left for 2 days and they're back. Now they have another trailer. So there's 2 trailers now.
So what do we do at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon until Monday at 8 a.m.? Because that's when they move in.
Well, you can just leave you can actually just do the report or call parking enforcement. Otherwise, it's just a matter of us getting out there. We don't work on the weekends for the lived-in vehicles.
They know that too.
They'll be there Monday when we come back. This young lady had a question.
Going back to the school routes, like the safety school routes, when I go to school, because I take the TriMet to school, because I go to school all the way in PSU, I was going one time to school and there was a homeless swinging an axe around. What do we do for that? Or
Police.
who do we call?
Police.
Because I've called the police in my apartment. There was a homeless lady getting naked. I called the police. They never showed up.
So,
Okay, I can only deal with the vehicles. You want this? Oh, okay, good luck.
This is like my third community event, so I'm already used to it. Call the police. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to come out, but every call is tracked. So when police show up to these community meetings and you have those, hey, I have to make calls, those sergeants, they can go back and request that data, and they can say, oh, this is something that's a concern. And that's when, if there's vehicles involved, they call us and say, hey, let's get together on this, let's get this on the calendar, let's go out together. We've been successful on that probably a handful of times. Like, this is a good example, 88th and Woodstock. I can't remember the lady's name, but she lives over here in the blue condos or apartments right here. She has my personal number because it's the easiest number in the city to remember. That's why I'm not going to give it to you.
8300.
503-823-8300. And I only say that because 8200 is the Joint Office of Homeless Services. And so I get a lot of those calls. People, hey, I heard you got housing for me. And I'm like, you got the wrong number, sorry. But yes, that's how we kept coming back out to here. A past sergeant with the police, hey, can we go out here and do 88th and Woodstock? When do you want to do it? You want to do it Friday? Sure. Which we typically really don't do a whole lot of that type of work on a Friday because of staffing issues. Because I think that day was just me working. But we made it happen. Police showed up. I was able to talk to everybody. I still think I took like 2 of them off 88th right here. So yes, please make those calls to non-emergency because we can use that data.
Thank you. So back to Knapp Street, because I ride it every day. I'm a bicyclist.
Yes, sir.
And that street drives me crazy. But there's no parking signs on the south side of Knapp from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. I think it is.
They ignore those.
Well, I know they ignore them, but you guys don't work past, what, 5 o'clock? How do we get, and they park all the damn trailers and motorhomes and everything on that side where it says no parking, and of course they're overnight. How do we get you guys to come out and ticket them? I assume it's parking enforcement that could ticket them after 10 o'clock.
I'm going to be as honest as my boss is. It's not going to happen. Here's why. Because the safety issue would have to get 2 officers out there. Our officers are off the street by 11:30. We have a swing shift that goes to 11:30, and then our next shift that comes in is 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, you guys do work until 11:30?
We have a swing shift that goes out. They just handle complaints. Pretty much they just do complaints only. We have to keep safety in mind, and I think everybody can agree that safety has become a lot more questionable in the last few years. It's gotten a lot crazier out there, and we face a lot more hostility in our regular job. And nighttime going out there, we'd have to put 2 people out, and right now with our staffing levels and parking enforcement as a whole, we don't have that many swing shift officers. The signs are only as good as the enforcement is. I hate to say that. I do hate to say that. It would be a police issue. The police are dealing with the same problem we are, being understaffed and overwhelmed with all the calls they get too. And that's part of the reason this young lady said they're not coming out either. I mean, it's just the worst of the worst is what everybody's responding to, and that's kind of what we do a lot of.
Is there any way that we could maybe get deputized in the neighborhood, some of this? I used to work for the city of Portland, and I used to work in the nuisance department, so I have no problem doing that. But I don't know if I could get deputized.
I don't think it'd be, I'm just going to speak personally, I don't think it'd be necessarily a bad idea, but as a supervisor in charge of the group, if Char got deputized, I would have nightmares. I'm just saying, no offense. Sir, I believe you had a question?
Yeah, I want to know, so 911. Can I get a tracking ID from them right then that I could talk to a sergeant easily? Is that part of the process that would actually work? Otherwise, I'm saying, well, I called them such and such a time, and such and such a time. You know, I can chase this independently just next time I do a 911 call, but.
They get a call back. Everybody gets a call back.
I think you get an incident report number, or, yeah, an incident report.
If they go out.
No, you get a call back, and you have to get a call back from 911. It also ties up 911.
Yeah.
If you call non-emergency or 911, it's the same people calling you back.
Yeah.
So if you hang up, or you will get a call back. It might be 3 o'clock in the morning.
Did you hear the answer to that?
But
I heard it when I was. So there's apparently a repeated problem where the police don't come or they're perceived not to come. And you said bring that to the community meeting where there's a police liaison or sergeant there, and they can track it. And I'm like, okay, that means there has to be an ID, there has to be a log. Can we get that ID? Because then you could chase it independently potentially. You could go through the neighborhood liaison.
Honestly, that's a question for the police. We do not have that information. I know that one of the criteria we had a matrix for towing through vehicles. One of the things was criminal activity, and we'd reach out to the NERTs, which a lot of you know who your NERTs are in this area, and they let us know, oh yeah, we got this many complaints or this many. So they do track that information. How you get a hold of that information, I do not know.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, with this 8 to 8, does that mean police are involved? No. You know what I mean? Where they're not deal with the 10 people in there?
I'm sorry, I'm not getting the question.
Police officer and tell them that there's a fire right next to my house on the end of 10. And I mean, the police join in on this new deal with the penalties and stuff?
What's happening today? It happens.
Well, I know it's supposed to start July 1st.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot more discussions around, you're talking about the new proposal that just got passed.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussions around that. I have not been privy to them at this time. The only thing I can tell you is we do the vehicles. And I know it sounds like a cop-out. It's not. I don't have the ability, I'm not armed or protected well enough to deal with some of these people when it comes to stuff outside the vehicles. There are certain areas, and there's one, in fact, we got excuse me, I'm off tomorrow, he has to deal with, where somebody was chasing somebody with a machete today. So we got to get police with us. We work a lot with the police. And when we hear certain things, we will inform them and let them know also what's going on out there, because we don't care just about the police, we care about the people. Both the citizens, people that own the homes, and the people that are out there that are living in the vehicles, because some women isn't their choice. It's just the way life treated them and just happened to work out that way. Others, they're not quite as savory people, and they've made a mission to make everybody else look miserable, to be quite honest. I do know they're taking, I can't say that the fire ban is going into effect now, that they've been talking about because of the weather and everything else. They do take that very seriously. We will report that also. We tell people you need to knock it off and ask them to put it out. If they don't, we'll call people to make sure it happens. We all take that pretty serious out there, for my group does anyways.
You mentioned you need funding, and I just put a question mark here. Do you have what you need moving forward with the new budget? The way the new council is working together, do you have what you need? And what, if you don't, what is it that you need more of?
Let me be careful here. Because that camera's working, I want to make sure I'm very careful here.
Well, you can't answer it.
No. We're doing the best with what we have. If we need to do more and a better job, which I think we can do, we need a place to put these people, to put the vehicles. So for the vehicles themselves, I need 300-400 slots that are RV size. That'll put a good scratch in it. People will notice the change, because I can take a vehicle, or I can try and tow it. Most of them are just getting moved, or they hand it off to somebody else until they're just falling apart on the street.
Does your department have to pay for that property, or does the city?
It depends on who, I think it'd be the city that do that. Right now, our department pays for every tow we do when it's the RVs and lived-in vehicles. If it's an RV or a trailer, they get stored at Giles Lake for 30 days. We pay for the tow there, we pay for the storage fee for 30 days. If it's not claimed, it goes over to Rapid and it gets dismantled. We pay for that tow fee and we pay for the dismantling.
So Clackamas County is bringing you more fun, taking away from your funding. So that's
Yes.
That's what I was wondering about.
In my personal opinion, it's three things we need. One is I need places to put the vehicles.
Okay.
We need better services for the individuals. Complete wraparound services. I need more shelters. Need more caseworkers out there trying to help these individuals, the ones that want it. And the third thing I need is I just need more people.
It sounds like you're doing a lot of work that the other team is doing, trying to get people to take services. And I know there's a lot of coordination, and I appreciate what you're doing. But it sounds like you guys are having to coordinate even more with convincing people and working with other departments to get the people out of the vehicle so you can get them towed.
The unique perspective we have is we have the hammer to go along with the carrot. Because I can take your RV. And a lot of what we do sometimes is a lot of coercion and sometimes some bluffs thrown in there. I'm not above saying something that isn't quite 100% true to an individual out there, just basically saying, hey, I can make this happen.
The last thing, and I'll shut up.
No, you're fine.
The segue to this gal here that I see on a continual basis young women, young men, children walking up and down in my area, Southeast 92nd, going to Kelly. But not just that, these are young people that are getting off the bus, they're trying to get to their apartment, and they're walking through this. And I guess that's why we try and stay focused on that area. I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. It has been, we have seen an improvement. They keep come and go, but it is so important to keep that area clean so these kids can get to and from school safely. And I appreciate it.
Thank you first off for that. Chris Thanks. Chris can testify, just this week alone, it was like, okay, every morning when we do our roll call, I'll break out my book and I'll be like, okay, I got a vehicle over here. We have sidewalk blocked with debris, trash, possessions, whatever it may be. I got kids that are having to walk out in the street. That's a priority.
And people with wheelchairs too.
It is the disability issue, all that. Bike lanes, I think Chris just tagged 2 bikes up off of Foster. What's about 105th and Foster, I think it is, today. I can't tow them right away, but it's a safety hazard. We put a 24-hour tow on them. Hopefully we'll have a chance to get them out of there tomorrow. So we are taking that very seriously. The safety issues are the ones I really want to get to when I get done with the calendar for the day. And I kick them loose and say, okay, you guys had your list from this morning, divvy them up and let's get to it. So we are trying. I know you guys might be seeing some improvement. I know some of you are so frustrated because it's not enough. But we're going to keep chipping away at it. And the one thing I have said, I think he has a question first, I'll get to you, is I know it's really hard to have patience. We might not be real fast sometimes, but eventually we get there. I'm the turtle, and the people could be the hare. Eventually I'll get there. What do you got?
So I'm curious, how did you do in this year's budget?
We lost a couple of positions.
You lost positions.
Oh, we got taken. We lost a couple of vacant positions. We didn't lose any personnel.
Were they FTEs? Were they full-time?
Yes, we don't have any part-timers. Hang on just a second, she's going to go and then up to you. Let me address it real quick. I have 4 teams. We used to have 3 teams of 2 people each for BIT. I now have 4. I had one that just swapped over to a different location. He took another job elsewhere, more power to him. I was asked, are you going to post that position? Are you going to put it up? And I said no. And the reason is because parking enforcement is so tight right now that we can't afford it. We're going to tighten up our belts, and I think we've done it. We haven't really taken a step back because we're just working harder. And I didn't think that's possible, to be honest. I get in trouble a lot because I keep going, let's go to the next spot. And I'm going, dude, 1 o'clock, lunch, let's do this. And I got to stop. So they work their tails off, but we're just going to have to tighten up our belts until we get more bodies in the seats out there for us. Yes, ma'am.
When you tow these RVs, cars, whatever, and the homeless people decide that they don't want any help, what happens to them? They just continue on the street, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's some of them have a place to. Some of them have somebody else they can go to. A lot of these people have somebody that will take them in, or another vehicle or something else somewhere. A lot of them do. We try and get them the services. We really try and work to help them out. But if they choose not to, and they're that much, and they can't move their vehicle, when we come out, and it is the tow day. If they're living in the vehicle, if it's not a lived-in vehicle, I can take it right away. If it's a lived-in vehicle, I give them 1 hour. And then sometimes it might go a little bit longer than an hour. I just won't be dead honest with it. If they're working to get out there, they can take their vehicle and leave. I cannot stop them from taking with their vehicle and just driving off. I've seen a really small car, like a Suzuki Sidekick, towing a 30-foot trailer. And I'm sitting there going like, oh God, Lord help us. This is going to go so bad. And the cops are going like, oh, this is not good. I'm like, yeah, you guys want to do something? Because I can't do anything. I can't stop that. So it's one of the catch-22s I have. There's only so much I can do. Those individuals, if they don't want services, I can offer them to them. We had one gal, oh, she was so mad at us. She stepped out of the trailer. The police got in the way and did not let her get back in the trailer. She'd been warned numerous times. We tried to tow her at least twice, and she wouldn't take it. Didn't want shelter services. We have one of my officers. Her name is Patricia. She's my rock star when it comes to services. This gal's cursing up a storm. It took us over an hour to get a tow truck there because we were having problems that day. We ended up towing that vehicle out. We got called every name in the book in many different ways. This young lady was very original with some of her things that she said to us. Very hostile. It's a good thing the police were there for us. And after about 4 or 5 attempts, she actually took shelter services that afternoon. So it's one thing we don't ask once, we'll keep on asking. And we'll keep on working with people. Sometimes we get through it, sometimes we can't. And if we can't, we did everything we could, and that's on them at that point. And that's a tough part for us because we're putting people out on the street, but at some point, they have to take responsibility for themselves too. Who else had a question? I'm sorry, yes.
How long can you have your brand new RV? It's got tags on it, you know. So how long can you have that RV, which I'm going to take out occasionally, but it doesn't move? Like you can only have a car on the street. It used to be like a 3-day event. So if you have an RV that's there for months and then it goes away for 4th of July, maybe Memorial Day, maybe Labor Day.
A recreational vehicle is only allowed to be on the public right-of-way for up to 8 hours while actively loading or unloading in front of your place of residence.
Okay, it's on the side of the residence, so yes. But he can have an RV parked in front of his house or the side of his house.
For up to 8 hours while he's actively loading or unloading. So if he's going to get ready to go out on a trip and he wants to load up all his dishes and his, he can do that.
But she's talking about on the property.
Oh, on the property? No, on the street is 8 hours.
I think it's at the side of the house.
Well, you know, the house is on 106, and this is on Lexington.
Okay.
What about when they're not moving?
Well, hang on a second. You had a question first, I'll get back to you.
When we live on 93rd Boyce, I think you've been over there, because we had like 8 trailers, RVs, within about a 3.5 block area there, and I mean, some of them stayed 6 months and don't move. You see what I'm saying? Isn't there a time limit for that crap?
8 hours.
It's the same. The difference is lived in versus non-lived in. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's very true. She was asking about the good old days, by the way. This isn't the good old days anymore.
Yeah, we take the good old days.
So as far as that goes, when we go out, we put a 72-hour warning on them.
Yeah, we came in and cleared them all out here about a month ago, you know.
Well, our procedure is 72 hours is the minimum time we have before we tow a vehicle. So we put a 72-hour warning. We're talking about lived-in vehicles at the moment. 72 hours. If it's an SSCC, it's 1 week. And the reason is because at that 1 week mark, we're towing. We're taking everything. The 72 hours is we're going to come back and work with them and see what happens. We don't necessarily have to tow them because it's not necessarily a safe route to school. It's not a big encampment. It could be just a one-off. So we do handle things a little bit differently at times. Abandoned vehicles, for those of you that are interested, if it has no registration, no trip permit, nothing, no identifying marks on it, we can tow that in 72 hours. If it has expired registration, we are required to give them 30 days. That gives them time to get the registration renewed, get new registration, new title, whatever they need to do. So you're sitting there waiting for it, that's why it's taking us a little longer to get out there. Boats, we don't even want to talk about boats right now. You know how, I can't think of that. You had a question about boating?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering what maybe your 21 budget was, 22 budget was, and now going forward, a massive, I'm guessing, increase because of the need for your services. How much of a massive increase have you guys received?
I honestly do not know the budget information. I try to keep my nose out of that. I'm too busy trying to deal with it on the street. I spend about 95% of my time on the street with my team trying to deal with things. So when you guys call me, for those of you who have, I'm usually in my car. So I honestly don't know that information. I do know a little bit about the tows and how much we're spending on those, or some of that stuff. I don't do the budgetary at all, to be quite honest. I do know that we rent our vehicles because it's never actually been put in the budget for us to do BIT work. Abandoned autos, yes. The lived-in vehicles, no, sir, we haven't done that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 92nd. There's a vehicle that has been there for months and months. It has no tires, no windows, no license, no nothing. Why is it still there?
I want to have this over quick. No, just kidding. Where on 92nd is it?
Between the Springwater Corridor and Mount Scott Road. It's right there where all the RVs are. And the trucks and the cars with all their camping crap and on the sidewalk, yeah.
Was it called in?
Oh yeah, we've called in these everything.
It's been called in?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get you the answer in just a second. In all honesty, part of the thing is, that sounds like...
On 92nd.
Is it on the street or is it off the street? Just a little bit.
On the street.
Okay.
It's in between Flavelle and
No, not quite.
This could be something that slipped through the cracks. I honestly don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Yeah.
With 18,000 cases this year, I can only remember 16,000.
That's okay. I'm just going to get chili bombs from the Chinese New Year down there.
We just gotta wait for this thing to
You're close
move.
by tonight, you can just run by there.
You can just check it out.
Yeah, I'll go by it.
Believe it or not, he's going to go that. He could probably go that way. I'm heading over to Hillsborough, so I'm sorry, but
That's all right.
I'm going the other way. You can also ask for new technology for us because we're still waiting here.
I think people on the street have moved it and then moved it back. It's been in a couple of spots. But it's like they're cherry picking it to death, and it's just like, I don't know how that thing's going to move.
We can move it. We can tell
I'll
it.
move it.
We can take it. So I know this is all very thrilling for you all at the moment, but
Yes.
while he's looking that up, does anybody else have anything?
Is it closer to Flavelle?
Is it closer to Flavelle?
It's kind of right in
between Crystal Springs and,
and Mount Scott Road. Now, we probably stopped calling about it because it's just ridiculous.
well, we cleaned that area out. Was it?
Last week?
No.
Is it near the
No,
storage
I was
unit?
on vacation.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
money saver.
We cleaned that out 2 weeks ago. We didn't leave any vehicles behind. There's only a truck with a trailer
Oh, now there's one.
that had moved over. So was it gone and came back?
Well, there was one there the other day when I drove
There's
by.
several, there's about 3 there now.
The truck and the trailer came back immediately. I saw you drive by, and the very next day, he just came right back.
Oh, you're lucky they waited a day.
Yeah. They just
I
came right
understand.
back.
Yeah.
I actually followed you because I was gonna try and ask you about something else, and you were gone, but I saw you drive by, and as soon as
I see some of my tail light, my rear view mirror. I'm in the gas cup. I'll just tell you that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If you'd have flashed your lights, I probably would have pulled over.
There's 2 or 3 there now.
it's the same guy.
When we cleared out that area, I do know that we didn't, because I was asking about the truck and the trailer. They said we didn't tag it over here and just moved in, and then I think we tagged it or something. I don't know what the story on that one was, but I didn't see any other vehicles there. So I'm wondering if it had left and they came back, or if somebody dragged it or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
They're there.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And we have a lot of the
Yeah.
derelict vehicles. We're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
But
Did you ever find that?
Well,
There's a question here.
well, I think the lady next to you had a question first.
Well, I just wondered, you guys come out to nap and, hey, it's really nice right now for a day or so. And you put the little tow tickets on the different ones that you're gonna tow. And then they, as soon as you drive away, take the tickets off. Do you, take down their license or something?
Basically, the green stickers you see are 72-hour warnings. We put the information on there. We put it on the vehicle. We take a picture of it. And then it goes in our system, and there's our documentation. We warned you. So you can take it off, you can do with it what you want. That's your problem. We have documentation, that's all we need.
We figured it was something like that.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people, I get a lot of calls, they took it off. Good for them. They think they're getting away with it, they're not.
yeah.
Ma'am, I'll get to you in just a second. I think you had a question?
Well, I'm going to my storage unit tomorrow at noon, which is at Money Saver. Could you get some of those to move before I get there? So I can
You know, just saying.
We have somebody working tomorrow, Chris. What are you running to? I think he's going to show you something here in a second. You have a question, ma'am?
Yeah, it's about the trucks, the same question. So 94th and Raymond, Mitchell,
No.
that's also a common place. I mean, fire trucks.
We talked about that today. And we did tag around Lentz Park today. And then I went up and I hit Part D in 94, that little cutout there. And I reached out to Lucas Hillier, who's in charge of Rapid, because we have to coordinate everything. And I said, I want to hit, what else do you have up here? He goes, Raymond. I want to hit Raymond. And somebody put the brakes on me. And the reason, no, it's okay. I got you back. The reason is we have a couple other areas we're towing that day. And it's just going to be way too much to try and pick it all up and get it done. So Raymond, I'm aware of Raymond in 94. And my plan is to get out there, but I just said we're going to have to find another day on the schedule to put that in. Lentz Park happened to be a bonus because I have a meeting Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays with Lucas is in there. I don't know how many of you know Nate Takara. He's in charge of the SSCC. He's the mayor's representative on that. He's one that oversees it all. Excuse me? Nate is in charge of the SSCC. So I have Rapid in there. I have police in there. We're in there. All sorts of people. Parks has a representative there. And I actually told him today that Lentz Park was on my list because somebody, a gal named Sophia from Parks and Rec had said, Lentz Park. I'm like, my guys are ready to go there. I talked about it this morning. So we actually put it on the calendar because they had some interest in it also. So we tagged that today. That's one of those rare ones because I looked at my calendar and said, we can squeeze something in. I have had a lot of complaints about Lentz Park area. and Part D happened to be squeezed in because it's right next door. Raymond has not been forgotten though. We will try to get out
I
there.
thought you got the little green trailer that's by the gardens too, that's been,
Yeah, they tagged that today.
thank you.
You doing karaoke good times?
Another thing that we have to battle is when we're towing these, especially RVs, usually our time cutoff is about 2 o'clock, 2:30. The reason is where they're going, they close at 4. And so every now and then we can call and say, hey, we're going to have one coming at 4:30. And I get the, okay. Because that means somebody's going to stay and work overtime at the impound yard. So that is, if you see us like at 2 o'clock just standing there like, okay, we're going to give up the ghost, we're done. That's the reason why we can't. It's a police impound, we have no control over it. They can leave when they want to. Sometimes there might be issues at Gals Lake. It doesn't happen too often anymore. But let's say we take one of these dirty, nasty ones and it spills its sewer system. They shut down Gals Lake until they can get everything cleaned up. No in, no out. Which brings me to another issue that we have with Gals Lake. We are on pace to more than double what we towed last year. I think we told you we towed about 250 RVs. I won't be surprised if we're over 600 this year. The capacity at Gals Lake is roughly about 125. At several points this year already, we've been at 130, 117. So then they say, okay, we can take one RV today. And then we look at our calendar and it's like, oh, we got 4 sites to visit. And there's probably 10, 15 RVs altogether. That's another constraint that I want you guys to be aware of, that there's a lot of other stuff behind the scenes, even for us, that we don't even forget. And luckily for us, we do have an individual that works at Gals Lake. He is a parking enforcement officer. He was formerly on our team. The communication has been a lot better this year because we've gone out years past and tried to tow something, and then we get a call from the tower. Gals Lake is not accepting it. Where do you want me to put this? And that's not a fun conversation.
I have a question for you. If I go up and down 92nd, take pictures, who do I send them to?
You can send either one of us. That's fine.
You guys seem to be doing that by yourself, but I'll do it.
Truth of the matter is, I'm going to leave my business card back there. The one thing I've always told people when I give out my phone number is my cell number. Okay, the one I have with me. I answer that almost more than I answer my personal phone. And I take it really serious. I think some of you got a hold of me on Saturdays. I'm off Saturdays and Sundays. I'll answer it anytime. The only thing I ask is, when I put this back there, is use it for the extenuating circumstances. If you're coming around the corner and saying, I don't like that car, I'm calling John. Please don't. And I don't mean that to be mean to anybody. It's just, as Chris can testify, I'm out in the field a lot. He says I don't do anything because I'm always in my car in a meeting. I do a lot of meetings in the car, and once I'm done, I'm back out dealing with things. I have paperwork that's been sitting on my desk for about 3.5 weeks because I just haven't had time to get back to it and get to it. I get caught up with these guys and, torturing them, so I don't get back to the office in time. But I will leave it out there. You guys can call me, and I've had certain situations where, hey, this guy's getting worse. We just had a break-in. I'm calling the police. I'm talking to some other people, say, hey, listen, I need to get out here and deal with this. Can you help me? And you ramp it up, I'll take care of it. If it gets bad enough, I'm more than happy to do that. But I just really don't want to deal with the little onesies and twosies that nobody's even actually called in. You're going directly to me. That's the only thing I ask, because that's what the other system's for. I know it takes us a little while. We will get there, but if it's bad enough, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to step it up. Yes, ma'am.
Are you still connected with the PBX reporter site then? Coordinate with them? Is that a better option for this group to
The PDX reporter, the 503-823-6814 number is a really good one. It's a Van Auto hotline that's actually answered Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And those are both good. 311 is fine.
But if we, I mean, I do have it on my phone, the PBX reporter, and a lot of times I'll put a picture of the vehicle in and.
We will actually get those
I
pictures.
usually put the VIN number in, you know, I mean, I try and give you as much information as we
We do get the pictures. If you do PDX reporting, we will get the pictures. One thing I do want to say, because I know I've heard this from citizens sometimes, and it's like, oh, I'm going to deal with these people myself, and you guys won't get out here. The one thing I will say is I can't tell anybody what not to do. I would not recommend it. And you never know what you're going to get out there. We don't know. I mean, we deal with some people, had no problems, all of a sudden for some reason, they're out. And we're going like, oh, okay, that might not have been a good idea to come here. The main difference between me and any of you is I get paid to do this. This is my job. I've worked with these people. I've built relations with a lot of them. There's some people that have actually had my back when things got really scary, and they were houseless too. They just came over like, no, you don't mess with him like that. And they'll go against each other to get our back, and that's with all our officers. Oh, that's ugly. Is that just southeast? I don't know if you're all going to be able to see this. I know it's really slow. This little pixel, I'll show it for the camera here real quick. This is all the cases we have right now that are open in the southeast. And the red dots are all the ones we haven't gotten to. They're just received. We haven't gotten there yet. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of those 1 dots are actually, when you blow them up and get larger on it, it's like 5 or 6 dots all in one spot. Real good example would have been Napa about 2 weeks ago, because we just used one address to put everything right there. Anybody else have anything? Oh. Hold back in.
I have one comment about.
I'm going to let a fresh voice over here. Sir?
Did you say your officers have to go out and tow the RVs, or do you hire a towing company?
We have a couple tow companies that are under contract to work just with our group that deals with the lived-in vehicles and the abandoned vehicles. So we have tow trucks that we have. When we do one of these SSCC, we show up, they already know our schedule for that week. So they'll go to the first site with us, and then we just start towing vehicles when the time's right. But we request the tow, and we have specific designated tow trucks that can help us.
So your staff doesn't have to be there when it happens?
We are there. And that's the main reason is to, well, 2 reasons. One is protection of the tow drivers. And 2 is if anything goes sideways, we can take care of it right then and there. A big one is protection of the tow drivers, because we've had people come back out, try and stand in the way of the tow truck. Either we've had people climb on the back of a flatbed, jump in their car and try and drive off the flatbed. Okay, we had somebody hooked up to one, they had the hooks underneath it, and it was often he was walking up to hit the switch and drag it up. The guy jumped in and pulled around the side and tried to go around him. Still hooked up to the cable. Luckily, it caught before it got to him. Otherwise, he'd have been cut by the cable and it would have been real ugly. But all this stuff happens out there. So we're really safety oriented. That's why we always travel in teams and sometimes in packs. So it is what it is.
I just said on the reporting issue, there's a lot of people that report in different ways. And I guess what happens in my neighborhood, I try and report for several people, but sometimes people get really frustrated and they just start reporting, everybody starts reporting, and I'm just wondering how that is coordinated. I mean, is that overloading your system to do that, or how is that coordinated?
From my perspective, I do not like track it. And the main reason I don't like track it is because it just pops up automatically into my system. If I have names and everything else like that, my officer, if you go through the 6814 and call it in, they're going to look it up. You say, I got a plate here, or I'm at this address. And by the way, like right here at 88 Woodstock, I got 4 corners to choose where I'm going for this meeting. If I say it's between 88 and 87 on Woodstock on the north side, I know exactly what driveway I'm coming in. That's kind of what we deal with this system. The more accurate you are with the location, if you have an address, even better. If you called in and you actually talked to somebody, they're going to look it up and try and find, see if they can find it and see if we have the case. If we have the case, it's still fine. One of our criteria is how many complaints has this vehicle gotten. If it gets to that level, we're looking at criteria. I have a matrix. The more calls, and not by one person. So if Chris calls 7 times, Chris is just a big baby, okay? I'm just telling you right now. But if I have Chris and everybody else calling, you know what? This individual over here is really ticking off a lot of people. Let's get on this.
And I guess that's what it's kind of sad, but you have to just kind of get everybody on board to get any action.
It is.
And I'm trying not to overload the system. I'm trying to be considerate of you, but we don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but it's the only way we can get results.
Absolutely, I understand, and I agree with you. It's not perfect, but the number of vehicles out there, for us to actually have to break it down and say, well, this one's more important because of these reasons, is sad in its own. In a perfect world, we're on every vehicle within 2 weeks, we're at every site. I have stuff in the system here, it's over 3 months old and we haven't even looked at it. I just don't have time because I've been in the time it takes me to get to one of these vehicles, I've been on NAP 3 times because every time I clean it out, it's 2 visits at a minimum. And one location, it took me, this was over in North Portland. The police were getting ready to do a stakeout. So when the guy went out to get groceries, they're going to arrest him so I could take this vehicle. It took me we tagged it, I came back. 4 days in a row I came back before I finally got him to get out and move the vehicle. We didn't tow it, but it got moved.
We're just trying to find the best way to communicate, however that is, to make it easier for you because of the budget. You're stressed enough.
To me, it's the 6814 number, 503-823-6814, because there's somebody there that's going to take the call. They can look up the case. I don't end up with my officers because there's situations where I looked up one the other day and I had 6 open cases on it. And I just took the time, it took me about 12 minutes to get all of them switched over. And by the way, I'm slow. So he could probably do it in about 3 minutes, it took me about 12. But I was trying to switch them over so my officers didn't have to worry about it. 6814 eliminates that portion. I'm not saying don't go the other routes. But if you have the time, call 6814, have a good location. If you can get a license plate, that's great. Make, color, location. That's what we need. And then what the violation is. Oh, it's just been sitting here for 4 months. Okay, it has to appear inoperable. So even if you know it doesn't run, if it looks like it runs, I can't touch it. I cannot look under the hood. I cannot touch a vehicle to ascertain whether it's operational. So I cannot lift the hood, I can't open a door. So if it appears inoperable or it has expired registration or no registration, that's the criteria for abandoned auto. RVs, lived-in vehicles, different ballgame. We can take care of that eventually, I hope. But for abandoned vehicles, appear inoperable or expired registration. So flat tires, the front windshield's completely busted out. That's what we gotta, that's kind of things we're looking for. I think my time's up. So is there any last question? Thank you. Oh, can I do one more question or no? Somebody said no. I'll talk to you afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, just a few announcements before we shut the meeting down. We have weekly West Rock cleanups. That's how we raise money to support the things that the group does every Saturday, with the exception of this Saturday, which is Neighbor to Neighbor. And that's from 8:15 to noon at New Hope Church. Sunday the 18th will be the VFW breakfast. And does anybody else have anything that they'd like to announce? Nope. Then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining us.
No, no, you're gonna have to arrest me. You're gonna have to carry me out of here. Because this girl right here wants me next. So what if you ask me? She's Ted Wheeler's mom. Arrest me! Arrest me! Ted Wheeler won't let Red Victim speak. Arrest me, Ted. Like you've done a bunch of times. Please conform. Okay, Babs. Arrest me, Ted. Arrest me, Ted. Arrest me, Ted. Oh, and they ejected me. I wasn't disrupted. I'm disrupted once you tried to eject me. Arrest me then. Arrest me, Ted. Arrest me. Arrest me. Arrest.